Hello. Today we are going to look at the prepositions at, on, and in when talking about time and place. Do you struggle when using these three little words? If so, you are not alone. But luckily, there's a pattern, and we're going to discuss that pattern today. Let's get started with time. What do you notice about these times? At 4:30, at noon, at midnight. All of these times are times that can be found on a clock. We use at when discussing times that are found on a clock. What about these times? What do you notice? On December 25th, on Christmas Day, on Monday. That's right. These are all days. December 25th, Christmas Day, Monday. We're talking about days. We use the preposition on when discussing days. On the weekend. Even though we're talking about Saturday and Sunday, we are still talking about days, and we would use the preposition on. Finally, we use the preposition in to talk about months, seasons, and years. In December, in winter, in 2018. Did you notice the pattern? Let's look at it one more time. What do you see? As we go down the pyramid, what's happening to our time? Notice at the very top of the pyramid, it's the most narrow. We have at the top. We use at to discuss small times, times that you would find on a clock. As the pyramid goes down, it gets wider, and we talk about larger amounts of time. On, we discuss days. Once again, we go a little further down the pyramid to discuss bigger frames of time using in. So what's bigger than a time on a clock? A day. What's bigger than a day? A month. December. What's bigger than a month? A season. What's bigger than a season? A year. So as we go down the pyramid, we're talking about larger and larger frames of time. Now let's look at prepositions of place using at, on, and in. Just as we saw before with time, we're going to start small. We use at to talk about very specific small locations. For example, at McDonald's, at work, at home, at school, at 1502 North Oak Street. All of these are very specific locations, either a house or a school or a restaurant. They're very small. Now, as we go down the pyramid, using on, the locations become a bit bigger. So we have on North Oak Street, on Interstate 95. We use on to talk about roads. What's bigger than a road? A city. In Miami. What's bigger than a city? A state. In Florida. What's bigger than a state? A country. In the United States. What's bigger than a country? A continent. In North America. So just as we saw before, at the top of the pyramid using at, we're discussing very small locations. Then the locations get a bit bigger, talking about streets. Notice this. What's the difference between 1502 North Oak Street and North Oak Street? So, when you're talking about a specific house address, you would use a number. 1502. This is the house location, and it's very specific. You would use at. But if you're saying that you live on a street and you do not give the number or the house location, you would use on. So I could say, I live on North Oak Street. I don't tell you my house number, I just tell you the street that I'm on. Or I can give you my number and use at. I live at 1502 North Oak Street. On Interstate 75. Once again, this is a road or a highway. You would use on. And then we have even larger in Miami, in Florida, in the United States, in North America. So we start small with at, get a little bit bigger on, and then the largest would be in. So let's look at these side by side. And I recommend studying this chart to help you remember when to use each of the prepositions. Let's review. Starbucks. That is a specific location. Which preposition would I use? At, on, or in? At Starbucks. Meet me at Starbucks. Brandon Boulevard. That's a road or a highway. What would we use? On Brandon Boulevard. Miami. What do we use for cities? In Miami. Greece. What do we use for countries? In Greece. Continents. Asia. What do we use for continents? In Asia. Specific times on a clock. At 4 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Don't let this one trick you. Remember, even though we're talking about 2 days, we're still talking about days. What do you use for days? On Tuesdays and Thursdays. So karaoke nights are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. December 9th. This is a specific day. It's a Friday. What do we use? On December 9th. What about the entire month of December? We'd say in December. So remember, in December, on December 9th, because December 9th is a specific day, whereas December is the month. Winter. What do we use for seasons? In winter. What do we use for years? In 2018. Halloween. Is Halloween a specific day? Yes, it is. Halloween is on October 31st. What do we use for specific days? On Halloween. Sunday. It's a specific day. On Sunday. What about Sunday morning? Once again, it's a specific day. It's still larger than an hour on a clock, so we need to use on Sunday morning. Midnight, specific time on a clock, at midnight. My birthday. For example, my birthday is on December 16th. That is a specific day. What do you always use for days? On my birthday. So for example, on my birthday, I eat cake. Noon, that's a specific time. At noon. New Year's Eve, is that a day? Yes, it is. On New Year's Eve. What about the morning? What do you think? In the morning. These next four are exceptions to the rules. Of course, in English, there's always going to be at least one exception, and these are the exceptions to the at, on, in pyramid. So we would say in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and at night. Why? I don't know. It's just the exception to the rule. So you have to memorize these because they do not follow the pattern that we learned before. In the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, at night. Lunchtime. At lunchtime. We saw this one before. Hopefully you remembered it. The weekends. On the weekend. I like to relax on the weekend. Now the future. Think about the time frame. Is this a small amount of time on a clock? No. Is it a day? No. It's a very large amount of time. What would we use? In. Remember, we use in for the largest amounts of time. In the future is from now until forever. It's a very large amount of time, so we would use in. The 60s. So this is a decade. What would we use for decades? It's not a time on a clock. It's not a day. What would it be? In the 60s. Once again, this is a large amount of time. Christmas Day. A specific day. On Christmas Day. That's it for this presentation. I hope it was helpful. Stay tuned for more presentations in the future. I'll see you later.